All right, here we go. Going to go ahead and start with the review. This is for the test tomorrow, test number 11. This is one of the last tests that we're going to be giving you guys until we get to star. So good luck. Hope that this helps you out. Looking at number 1, length of a rectangle is 3x minus 2 and the width is 5x plus 2. I'm going to go ahead and draw the rectangle and label that real quick. All right, so I got the length and the width drawn here. Labeled. What is the perimeter? A lot of people made the mistake today of taking both of these and just going and multiplying them together. If this were area, then we'd multiply length and width. This is not area, this is perimeter. We're going to be adding everything up. So I'm just going to do the variables first. Let me go ahead and list them. And this is each of the variable parts. So I have 3x, 5x, 3x, 5x. So adding all that up, you can check it if you want to, but you're going to get 16x. I'm going to do the same thing with the numbers. So I'm going to list them real quick and then add all of them up. So negative 6 plus 2 minus 6 again plus 2. That's starting here. Negative 6 plus 2, negative 6 plus 2, and minus 6 plus 2. Add all those up and you will end up with a negative 8. And if you can check the numbers if you want to, but that would be your final answer there. Moving on to the next one, number 2. Alright, getting started here, I'm asking you to write the equation of a quadratic function. I'm giving you the vertex. So that's a key piece of information. This is, again, vertex. And the vertex form is on the math reference chart. You're going to have that tomorrow. This is H and K on the vertex form. It passes through, I'm giving you another point, X and Y. We did this last week in class for a couple of days. I'm going to go ahead and write down the vertex form and then kind of show you how this walks through. There's vertex form. What you've got are H and K. So I can write those down here now. So minus 0 squared plus negative 9. Now the piece that we don't know is A. And that's what we're going to find out right now. And we're going to use this other information, 4 and 7, to do that. Basically, I'm going to plug in the 4 and the 7 too, and I'll be able to write get that A value from that. Now your answer over here for vertex form is going to look like this. It will have an X in it. I've got a lot of people putting in the value, the number for X instead of actually writing X. So next part is I'm going to put in that 4 and 7 into that equation, that function. Alright, so I substituted 7 and 4 into the function. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of math right here, do the subtraction and the squaring. So once you subtract the 0 and square it, you get a 16 from that. Now you're just solving this equation. You still want that A value so that you can write it in over here. So that's what I'm going to do the work over here in this blank space, and then I'll get the right answer. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of walk through that real quick. Rewrote, eliminated 9 by adding, got 16. Had to eliminate the 16, so I divided, and dividing with 16, that got me 1. So that tells me I'm going to have a 1 right here. Now to change it over to standard form, I'm going to go ahead and erase some so that I have some space. Okay, so changing this over to standard form, first I'm going to split up the parentheses for the exponent like this. At this point, this is where I would distribute this 1 here. Because it's a 1, I don't really have to worry about distributing it. What I am going to do right now, though, is I'm going to multiply the parentheses there. So I'm going to go in and do the multiplication for this. Okay, there's the work for the multiplication. I get a whole bunch of zeros here because both those numbers are zeros. Really all that adds up to is this is going to be just minus 9 here, and we're done with standard form. That's it. Moving on to 3. I'm basically going to do number 3 on the calculator. This says what are the roots for the quadratic function in number 2. And so basically what I'm going to do, those are the x-intercepts. So I'm just going to look at the graph and get the x-intercepts from there. So let me get the equation put in and I'll show you real quick. So I got the standard form into the calculator from number 2. Here's the graph and I can see right there. That's at negative 3. That's at positive 3. So what that means here is whenever I'm doing my solutions, I'm going to be writing negative 3 and positive 3. There are the two x-intercepts, the two zeros. Done. Back. Number 4 is a little bit of a different question. We're finding greatest common factor here. Basically, that's what can you divide all of these by? What's the largest amount you can divide each of these by? I'm going to zoom in here so I can write a little bit better. Okay, so for instance, here for the numbers 4, 2, and 6, I can divide each of those by 2, and that's fine. Actually, I can't go any higher than 2 because this is a 2. If I try to divide by anything bigger, that's not going to work, and I'll get decimals and such. And whenever you're dealing with greatest common factor, you're not supposed to be getting decimals there. Same thing for the exponents, or for the variables. See, so I can divide all of these by x because they each have an x. But the greatest number, the most x's that I can divide by would be x squared. Sorry, hold on. So like I was saying, the most I can divide by here is 2. Same way, the most I can divide by here is with x squared. If you divide with these x squareds, those would cancel and eliminate, and this would give you a 3 if I divide those. Here, you would subtract 2 from both, and you would end up with 1x left over. The 2's would give you a 1. Here, if you divided this, the 2 subtract 4, that would be squared. And then 4 divided by 2, that would be 2. If I tried to divide by anything other than squared, if I used x to the third, then this division here wouldn't work. So the greatest thing that I can divide by is 2x squared. 2 for the numbers and x squared for the variables. I understand this is hard to kind of get. We didn't spend much time on it. So just try to watch this over again and try to let it sink in. So what's basically happening here for number 5 is we're giving you 3 points, zeros at 3, -4, and this other point here for 16. With those 3 points, I'm going to be able to just use stat on the calculator here and calculate what the equation is going to be. So going to go ahead and do that right now. By the way, zeros, those are just x-intercepts. So that's why I've written each of these equations or each of these points like this. The x value and then 0 for the y value. So I'm going to get the points put in here and show you the calculation. Alright, so I've got the information put into the calculator under stat. That I went to stat edit to get to here, entered the information. If you have trouble with this, or if you're missing L1 and L2, just reset the memory on your calculator. Going back into stat, now I'm going to calculate the equation. These are quadratic, so I'm going to choose option 5. Don't get confused and choose option 7. Okay, and calculate. There are my numbers. Just going to go ahead and jot those down, and there we go. That's the equation of the quadratic. Okay, moving on to number 6. And 6 here, what 6 is getting at is transformations. You're starting with some original equation, and then we change that original equation. And what I'm asking you to do is to kind of explain what's going on with that transformation, what's happening to the graph. So to start, I'm going to go ahead and graph just the x squared that's here at the very beginning. So that's what my original graph looks like. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in this transformation that's here later on in the problem. So what that's going to look like is this. Okay. Now I understand that here there's not an exponent. All right. That's because this is not written as a quadratic function. What I'm putting in here is a squared because I have to have it just like this original equation did. So now I can graph this, and now you can see what's kind of going on here. This is where the original started. Now it's shifted over to the left and it's shifted down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain that in words using shift, left, right, things like that. So that basically sums up what's going on here, starting at 0, 0, shift left 3, down 2. All right, on to 7. All right, number 7, use the quadratic formula. I'm always going to give you the quadratic formula. I'm just going to go ahead and identify A, B, and C real quick. And once I've done that, now it's just filling those values into the correct place in the formula. So I'm going to write those into there now. You can check me if you want. Those are all of the numbers in the correct place. Use parentheses for everything, especially right here, so you don't mess anything up. I'm going to go ahead and calculate this inside part here on the square root. Here it is over here on the calculator all punched in. I'm going to go ahead and rewrite that over here. Now, because this number 41 can't be square rooted, I'm going to leave it like this, and that's my answer. If I did have a number like 49 that I could square root, then I would square root, and I would have a 7 positive and a 7 negative, and I'd get my answers from there. All right, that's it. Good luck on the test, guys.